everyone. Welcome back to Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast. I'm with your co-host, Charles Skaggs, back in Ghostwood Forest for 2021. Here with my wonderful co-host, fellow Dune aficionado, and just all-around delightful person, Xan Sprouse. How you doing?
I'm good, Charles. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Getting settled in the new year. Things have been a little crazy, just little things like, attacks on the Capitol.
Mm-hmm. Treasonous insurrection,
threats to the inauguration, threats to our just established democracy. No big deal, right?
Threats to our established democracy, threats to our safety, threats to the life of the vice president. Nothing big, right?
No, what's everybody crying about? I mean, geez.
Yeah, seriously.
No.
Considering the fact that we live in a capital city, I'm on red alert for this weekend and next Wednesday, for sure.
Yeah, slightly. So, because here in Columbus, Ohio, needless to say, we're a little hot and high alert right now.
High alert, yes.
Yeah, because I was telling you just before we started recording that my work sent out a notice that the Arena District here in Columbus has notified everybody to be on guard starting around the weekend because of fears of what may be coming up as we lead into the inauguration. So Isn't that a great way to start a new presidential era for America?
Yeah, exactly. That's lovely. I got
on top of a pandemic, on top of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, because when we have a pandemic with like hundreds of thousands of people dying like monthly, the thing we really need to be paying attention to is the non-existent fraud of an election that is just making people cry because it didn't go their way. Yeah.
It's funny how 4 years ago, people told, I believe, us to get over it.
Yeah, he won, just get over it. The same people that said he won, get over it, were the same people who on election night were saying, stop the count.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want because they don't understand how elections work. They don't understand how math works or basic addition or basic democracy, which goes to show you that these are people who are just used to being able to get whatever they want and buy it, and they have no concept of how actual facts work because of that.
I don't think they care. I don't think it's so much a grasp as that they may grasp it, but they just don't care.
Well, see, I think there are people who just don't care, who just feel that they are incredibly entitled to whatever they want.
Right.
I also feel like there are people with a cultish devotion to anyone that tells them that, yes, they should, in fact, be better than everyone else because they are straight white males.
Right.
And then I feel like there are people who are just literally delusional. And I think that's where the president is right now. The president, who, by the way, made history yesterday by being the first president in the history of the United States to be impeached twice.
Yep. Salute.
Yeah, exactly.
So he has that going for him, which is nice.
Yeah. So he will go down in history books as the president with the most of something.
Yep. At long last, not like, he didn't have the popular vote twice.
No. But he will have the most deaths during his presidency, and the most impeachments, because we have surpassed Vietnam, we have surpassed World War II, we have surpassed World War I, we have surpassed the Civil War when it comes to deaths thanks to COVID.
Yeah.
So
gradually working our way up to the Crusades right now.
Yeah, gradually working our way up to the Crusades. Exactly. So I guess he should be very proud of the shithole country that he has turned us into.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So I know, we're getting really heavy right off the bat, but obviously this stuff's kind of weighing on us. So
yeah, Charles, we should stop talking about a corrupt family that refuses to accept the transfer of power. Oh, wait. We're totally going to do that tonight, aren't we?
This is true. So, maybe we have to discuss a certain Baron Harkonnen's reluctance to vacate his office and do it in, and engage in a peaceful transfer of power and commit insurrection against the people taking over.
Right. And incite some of his cronies to place sabotage devices in high government places.
Yeah.
And send out his generals on, basically unwinnable missions, but they can't tell him about it because he'll go crazy because he's a nut job who's delusional. Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, he was, doing his at real Baron Harkonnen Twitter account until they pulled him recently.
Well, they yanked, they yanked that.
Yeah, and then he got kicked off YouTube and Facebook and all that. So he's not very happy right now.
Exactly. And no matter how many times the Mentats count the votes, the numbers are always the same. He's still always supposed to vacate, but he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah. Even just, pulling out people's heart plugs isn't going to, salve that particular wound right now.
Forcing himself physically, unconsensually on people much too young for him.
Yeah. And being extremely gross about it in the process.
And being way too flirty with members of his family.
Yeah. So in case you haven't figured out what we're talking about, here at episode 90, we're talking at long last the 1984 version of Dune.
Dun, 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 dun,
Dun, dun,
dun.
Yep.
Yeah. Shawnee's theme, by the way, best thing Toto ever did.
Yeah. Right up there with Africa. Yeah.
Oh, it's so much better than Africa.
I know.
Hey, you know what we need?
But I have kind of a soft spot for Africa now that Weezer covered it.
We need Weezer to cover the Dune soundtrack.
Right. Thank you.
I know. How badass would that be?
That would be pretty badass. I am all in for that.
You know how Weezer has different colors? This would just be the Weezer Desert album.
Exactly. This would be the Water of Life album or something. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Something. Exactly. Or you know what? It would have to be like, that ocean blue.
Oh, the blue on
the blue on blue. The blue on blue. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The spice, the melange blue. How's that?
Yes. The Weezer must flow.
The Weezer must flow. Nice. Excellent. You like how we just kind of segue from like Trump through Dune into Weezer? That was great. That was fantastic.
Well, that's the thing. I mean,
that's what we do.
When you're talking about a family that refuses to relinquish power, there's two families I can think of: the Trumps and the Harkonnens.
Right. Hashtag Harkonnen crime family.
Hashtag not my Baron.
Not my Baron. Exactly. So we're talking. Yes, we are definitely talking the 1984 Dune, of course, because hey, it was written and directed by David Lynch. So
yeah, it was.
Needless to say, it's kind of in our wheelhouse here at Ghostwood, since we talk all things Twin Peaks, David Lynch, et cetera, as the saying goes. This was the, like I said, 1984 science fiction film / cult classic that came out on December 14th, 1984.
Cult classic, translation for it, didn't do shit at the box office when it was released.
But geeks like me
and me
and you, I love this film. I mean, I'm an unapologetic fan of this film. No matter, I know it has its detractors, and I get that in a lot of ways, and that's something we can discuss.
Yeah.
But I have a very soft spot for this film. I love this film.
I do too. I think it's gorgeous.
I think it was just ahead of its time, personally.
I also have a soft spot for Dino De Laurentiis.
Yeah.
So these are two great tastes that go great together for me.
Well, Dino does have a little fondness for like really out of control, big budget sci-fi.
We were watching it and Chris said to me, he's like, how much gold paint does Dino have? And I said, all of it.
Yeah.
All of the gold paint ever.
He used to have all of it, and then he used it all on screen, apparently.
He used it all on Flash Gordon and Dune.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But this one was produced by Raffaella De Laurentiis.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, is based on the 1965 novel Dune by Frank Herbert. Maybe you've heard of him.
Yeah, he's written a few books in his
Sci-fi legend, yeah.
Yep.
So, cast in this film. Now, I broke this down into 3 groups. Twin Peaks actors,
mm-hmm.
Lynch vets, David Lynch vets, who turned up in other films, and then just other actors.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So Twin Peaks, of course, we have the introduction of the great Kyle MacLachlan.
Heck yes. Who, I love you, Kyle MacLachlan, but you're not passing for 15.
No, not at 25, no.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm going to say for Timothy Chalamet, is that I really do think he could be like 13 or 15.
Yeah, at least he's kind of closer to the actual age of Paul Atreides in the book, yes.
And he's going to look 15 until he goes bald, frankly.
Right.
Timothy Chalamet has that kind of
baby face.
Delicate baby face features. Yeah, he's perfect for Paul Atreides. He's absolutely perfect.
Yeah. So, Kyle MacLachlan is Paul Atreides, a.k.a. Paul Muad'Dib.
And
his name is a killing word.
I know we're going to get to him, but can we just...
Yeah.
Can we just mention here how Big Ed just murders the line? Muad'Dib. I mean, he's just...
Muad'Dib. Yeah, he's got
like,
that deep, resonant voice that I'm so jealous
Everett McGill
of.
just kills it when he says that. He's like, "You will be Paul."
Muad'Dib.
It's
Yeah.
like the "how you doing" of their ancient language. It's amazing. I love it.
Stilgar is like the Barry White of the Fremen. I'm sorry.
Oh, so bad. Yeah, so bad for sure.
Can't get enough of your love, Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib.
Muad'Dib. Yeah.
He's just he just kills that line. I love it. So all right, go on, Charles.
So
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
Everett McGill is Stilgar, of course. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Jack Nance as Aiken Nefud. I'm not sure how it's
And
pronounced.
I love Jack Nance. You know I
Yeah.
love Jack Nance, but he should not have been a Harkonnen in this.
He looks really odd with that orange dyed hair.
He's just too sweet of a guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's even, you know, that scene where they're like torturing the cow and God knows what else they're doing.
Yeah,
He's just
yeah.
sort of standing there like,
Well, I think he was kind of supposed to be like the sniveling underling, but
Nance is too sweet of a dude. I think his sweet guy comes through too much.
I agree.
You know?
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Someone Zan will probably appreciate Jürgen Prochnow.
Prochnow.
I'm sorry. Prochnow. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. As Duke Leto Atreides, Paul's father.
We don't get enough of him shirtless in this, but we get a little.
And in case you happen to be wondering, I'm sure the listeners of this podcast probably know this, but for anybody just checking in for Dune who doesn't know where he was in Twin Peaks, he's one of the woodsmen in Fire Walk with Me.
Fire Walk with Me.
Yeah.
You know the guy that does that weird yo-yo thing with his knee?
Yeah. Or that kind of like that weird sort of half Adolf Hitler salute.
With his knee.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
that whole thing, that guy.
That would be Jürgen Prochnow.
With a ridiculously fake bushy beard.
It's awesome. He looks like a freaking garden gnome. I love it.
It's like just David Lynch just went down to Party City, bought the fakest beard he could find, slapped it on Jürgen, and said, "Just go with it."
He just took some barbershop hair and did some spray glue on him and just threw it at him and said, "Wing it."
Yep.
Yeah, it's great.
It's brilliant. Yeah. Alicia Witt, we get introduced as Alia Atreides.
Poor Gersten.
Yeah. He gets to whip out that great gum jabbar on Baron Harkonnen.
Me, Charles.
Yes.
Alicia Rowan Witt.
Oh, okay.
Did you notice that she is Alicia Rowan in the credits?
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
no.
she has a middle name in this.
Interesting.
Who is overdubbed, and I'm curious as to what she would have sounded like, but she was very young. She was like 4 when this movie was made. So.
But it does kind of make her more creepy, I gotta say.
It makes her so much creepier.
Yeah.
It's a great effect.
Yeah.
Because you can tell
she's all like,
she does talk. She's got
wait
like one of those...
for my brother, Baron.
He is the Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah,
and you can tell, especially when she's saying Kwisatz Haderach, that she has one of those little kid lisps, which would have been just adorable when she said it.
It's the Kwisatz Haderach.
Kwisatz Haderach, yeah. I mean, even with my speech impediment, it's a little bit hard to say.
Right.
But when you're 4, it's probably really hard. So.
But the speech impediment that I would not realize until you keep bringing it up.
Now everybody's going to listen for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the drinking game.
Yep,
That's
there you go.
Drinking game. How long does it take for Xan to be talking before her speech impediment really shows itself?
Your move, ghosties.
Your move, ghosties.
Yep. And then, of course, a certain David Lynch turns up as a spice worker.
Yes, sire.
That great line delivery that David Lynch does. Not wooden at all.
It has our spice freighter. It got our carry-all.
That's so funny. David Lynch
He's kind of yelling into that microphone, so he really sounds like Gordon Cole.
A little bit. You remind me of a small Mexican chihuahua.
This is the kind of spice that makes a guy wish he spoke a little French.
Spice time.
Massive quantities of this wonderful, wonderful spice.
There you go. Perfection. That's it. That's the one. All right. I can't top that one. All right. David Lynch vets. Of course, the great Brad Dourif as Peter de Vries.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Brad Dourif once again chewing the scenery for all it's worth.
Oh,
With some really trippy hand gestures and everything.
when you want a nut job, you get Brad Dourif, because he is so creepy and crazy, and he's just perfect for this.
Yeah, as bad as maybe Jack Nance was for Knayfoot, I would argue that Brad Dourif is the complete opposite for
Perfect.
Piter. He's perfection.
Piter DeVries,
Yes.
yeah. Piter DeVries is kind of like the Harkonnen family's Rudy Giuliani.
I would say Stephen Miller.
Okay.
You see where I'm
I'm
going
just
with?
thinking he's like he does the technical work. He's the mentat, so he does all of their like accounting.
But I think Piter is smarter than Giuliani. That's why I would go Stephen Miller, because Stephen Miller is more Machiavellian.
That's very true. Good point. Yeah. I was going to say Raban is smarter than Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah. Well, we know that Raban has to be Eric Trump, right?
Either that or...
of course, that would make Donald Trump Jr. Feyd-Rautha.
Well, we know who Feyd-Rautha is. It's Ivanka. because her dad, like, oddly comes on to her. Just
right.
like Feyd's uncle oddly comes on to him.
That's yeah. Little creepy pats along the way. Yeah, pretty much.
A little bit, yeah. Lovely, lovely Feyd.
That means I guess no, I'm not even going to go there. All right. All right. I'm just bailing out of this one right now. Abort. Freddie Jones turns up as Thufir Hawat.
Yeah.
Yeah, who gets to take care of a little kitty cat.
I feel so bad for that cat.
Right. For one thing, it's bald, but yeah.
Well, it's probably that breed. But,
yeah, I know. The hairless cats.
That cat and that rat, they've got to be like strapped in together. I
know.
I feel so bad for them.
Well, the cat, because all cats are like this, they hate to be confined.
They hate to be confined.
So having a cat in a cage in that harness.
Yeah. Unless it's a cat that like got itself into a really tiny box, they hate being confined.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Harkonnens are terrible people.
Yeah.
And all you need to do is look at that kitty cat.
Yeah, pretty much. Dean Stockwell as Dr. Wellington Huey.
Dr. Huey, the traitor!
Yes. Huey, 1,000 deaths are not enough for you, or whatever her line was.
1,000 deaths are not enough for Huey!
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Dr. Huey makes the cardinal sin of trusting that a psychopath will come through with his end of the bargain.
Yeah.
You know, when you're pretty sure your wife is dead and someone promises you that you'll be able to see her again, he means heaven.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He means the afterlife. He means you're both going to die.
Well, Dr. Huey does not think things all the way through, needless to say. I mean, his whole revenge plan hinges on like, okay, I'm going to go. I mean, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves already, but like he's gonna essentially tear down the Atreides, the House Atreides. He's going to turn traitor against his Duke, and so his whole plan hinges on putting a fake tooth in Leto's mouth, so that he can, once he gets close enough to the Baron, he can bite down on that and spray him with that kind of cyanide or whatever poison.
Yeah, it's like a cyanide gas type of thing, and the plan.
And apparently, the plan would have worked if it weren't for the fact that the Duke was delirious from the previous amounts of torture he has endured. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that the only reason he's doing this is because even though Huey completely screwed him over, Huey's promising to make sure that Paul and Jessica are safe. So
which happens.
Yeah.
You know, because he does leave them the still suits.
Right.
When they get taken away, and so they're able to survive in the desert, which is where they meet Stilgar and his group.
He does come through on that a little bit, but anyway. Other actors in this one I thought were notable. Francesca Annis as Lady Jessica, of course, who does a really good job in this. I really liked her in this movie.
She's amazing, and I just love her. I think she's gorgeous, and I think she's a wonderful actress, and she is, in my opinion, the best thing about the movie Krull.
Arguably, I would say that, yeah.
Yeah, because she's the spider.
Yeah, that's great. At the end, yeah.
Freddie Jones is also very good in Krull too, but Francesca Annis is why you watch the movie Krull.
Right. Well, there was, what's her name? I can't remember the actress's name. Oh, well.
Oh, the bride in Krull? I can't think of her name either.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, but yeah.
I know who you're talking about, yeah, but I can't
Yeah.
think of her name.
Yeah.
Jose went on to star in Trilogy of Terror Part 2.
Yeah.
Which is hilariously awesome.
Jose Ferrer, who is
tangentially
Twin Peaks related, right? Because he's the father of, Miguel Ferrer, a.k.a. Albert Rosenflower.
Albert Rosenflower, yep.
But he plays here Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV.
The fourth.
Which is just greatness because of the name alone.
Mm-hmm. The Emperor of the Known Universe.
Right.
Yeah.
So how'd you like that on your business card?
That'd be pretty amazing. But if you're the Emperor of the Known Universe, do you imagine how many business cards you have to have printed? That's like 6 million business cards.
Maybe not any, because, if you're the Emperor, presumably everybody knows you. Maybe you don't need business cards, but...
Well, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
But if my job was Emperor, I'd have business cards.
I would have them printed up, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe I wouldn't hand them out to everybody, but I'd have a stack just to look at that.
Oh, yeah.
Once in a while. Linda Hunt.
See what this says? It says that I'm the Emperor. Okay. Do what I want.
Biatch. Yeah.
Boo.
Boom. Drop the mic.
Yeah.
Linda Hunt turns up in this movie as the Shutout Mapes. One of the Fremen.
The housekeeper.
Yes.
Yep.
Who kind of tips off Paul to the traitorous actions taking place inside
mm-hmm.
the Atreides, I don't want to say compound, perhaps. When I'm not trying
that works.
Yeah, compound. Let's go with compound. That sounds good.
Well, anything that has to have a ray shield around it is
right.
Probably
yeah. I was trying to think. Well, is it a castle? No, it's not really a castle.
No, it's like a house with the shield around it. So it's a
compound. I think compound works.
Yeah. Yep.
Richard Jordan as Duncan Idaho.
Heck yes, Richard Jordan.
Yep.
For anyone who is looking for sci-fi royalty, we have Richard Jordan, who is
for certain Logan's Run movie. Yep, there you go. Virginia Madsen turns up, interestingly, as Princess Irulan, and a lot of people. I keep forgetting that she's in this movie.
Especially if you watch the Alan Smithy version, you don't even hear her.
No, because she gets cut out. Yeah, a lot of
her narration is cut out. But yeah, Virginia Madsen is more horror royalty than she is sci-fi royalty to me because of Candyman.
Yeah, but she's been in a lot of different things. I think she was on a.
I'm only going to say that once because I am not pressing my luck this week.
I want to say she was on a Moonlighting episode, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know, Scott Ryan, tell us.
Maybe.
Yeah, Scott Ryan, you should tell us about that if she wasn't in the episode.
I'm vaguely remembering her in a Moonlighting episode for some reason. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm wrong. But anyway, I really liked her for all that we get to see her as Princess Irulan.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth McMillan, of course, as the really gross Baron Vladimir Harkonnen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that it is Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, that encompasses his doom.
And hopefully his makeup wasn't contagious.
Seriously, that was disgusting. Yes, I read.
Yeah.
I read some reviews on this that I had never thought of before. That this story was seen as being very homophobic.
I saw that.
Because of being 1984, we were knee deep in the AIDS crisis, which our president at the time refused to even acknowledge for like another 3 years.
I don't think that was intentional, though.
I don't think it was intentional because, the Baron written in 1965, he's he's gross and murderous. And I think that...
I think somebody was overanalyzing that one, especially for the period.
I think the biggest problem with him is that, yes, he is kind of a pedophile.
Yeah.
And maybe at the time in 1965, back when we still had Boys Beware.
Right.
The idea of a pedophile that is also a homosexual, because those are not...
Yeah, there could be cross-confusion. I get that, yeah.
Yeah, they're not interchangeable terms, but maybe back in 65 that would have been more shocking.
Yeah.
But another thing that they talked about were the open sores on his face, which people were comparing to the lesions of HIV-positive patients.
Yeah.
So I'd never thought about that before. I thought that was an interesting take on it.
Yeah. Sian Phillips, yeah, she's Welsh, I know that much, as Reverend Mother Gaius Helen Mohayam.
Oh, the Bene Gesserit witch.
Yeah, who is uber creepy in this. So good. And place
Yeah,
your hand in the box.
Take your hand out of the box and look at it, young human. Yeah,
she's fantastic.
But she's definitely like, I mean, the Bene Gesserit Sisterhood is like any other, seemingly on the level cult type organization.
Right.
The Bene Gesserit Sisterhood has been manipulating bloodlines. Wait, excuse me?
Yeah, what?
What did you just say?
Manipulating bloodlines? Like eugenics, maybe?
Is that what are we trying to do some sort of purity breeding type of a situation here?
Well, that's one of the things that, in the books, that they were all trying to create this Kwisatz Haderach.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and come on, let's be honest. I mean, how valid is a messiah if you
build one?
If you build one. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Right. Exactly.
He just has to manifest out of a manger.
It's like, there's this place we can't go, so let's just build a guy because, apparently we're women, we can't go. So, so let's build a guy. It's a little sexist a little bit there.
It is a little sexist, but if the place that women are afraid to go is a place that makes it rain in the desert, that's probably dangerous.
Right?
That's the thing.
I had not considered that, but you're probably right.
People forget that ecosystems are the way that they are for a reason, right? Desert is not going to thrive with rain and water. Thank you very much.
No. That's funny. Let's see who else. Paul L. Smith as the Beast Glossu Raban.
The Beast Raban, who is going to be Dave Bautista in the new movie.
Right.
And I hope he gets a little bit more other than having...
Which I think is great casting there as well.
Perfect casting.
Bautista, especially after Drax. That should be really interesting to see him as Raban. Because he was fantastic in Blade Runner 2049.
Yeah, I was going to say, as Sapper Morton, I loved him in that because he was just so brutal.
Yeah. A lot of people forget that Dave Bautista can act.
Yeah, exactly. He's fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to him in this one.
Yeah. A little guy by the name of Sir Patrick Stewart turns up as Gurney Halleck.
You mean that guy who was the doctor in Life Force? I think I heard of him.
Yeah. You young pup. You young pup.
Moods are a thing for cattle and love play.
Make it so.
Literally my favorite thing Patrick Stewart has ever said.
Yeah.
Is moods are a thing for cattle and love play.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Yeah, I like that one.
A guy I'm only just a little bit familiar with. Some guy by the name of Sting, a.k.a. Gordon Sumner.
Yeah, that Gordon guy who wears his underwear in this movie. I haven't paused that.
Whose Funko figure I have right behind me.
Yeah, exactly.
One of two Stings that I have.
I was going to say, don't count your Funko figures. We'll be here all night.
Yeah, I know. That's true. No, I was just going to say that I've got a police Sting, and then I've got this one. So
I want a Brimstone and Treacle Sting. That'd be cool, right?
Right? Yeah, that would be good.
Or even the Bride. Do you remember the Bride?
Yes. It's Victor Frankenstein. Yeah.
Yeah, with what's her name?
Frankenstein. Sorry.
Was his name Froderick also? But
no. It was Victor. It was Victor. Victor.
What is it? Jennifer Beals.
Yes. She was the bride. You're right. Yeah.
Sting and Jennifer Beals. Yep.
Yeah, this is a pretty obscure one. Yeah.
The 80s were awesome.
Yes, they were. Yes, they were. That's why we keep talking about him when we're talking drunk cinema.
Talking about him.
Yep. Sting plays, of course, Feyd-Rautha Harkonnen.
Mm-hmm.
I will kill him!
Who is the little one?
A pet, perhaps.
Pet, perhaps.
Yeah.
Will she require my special attention? Yeah. They're all rapists, the Harkonnen. Every last one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're terrible people.
But, just in case you weren't sure, you weren't supposed to like them. But
yeah, you're not supposed to like them. You can look at them when they get out of the steam bath as long as you want, because there is such a thing called the pause button. But that's all. Just look. Don't.
When Sting comes out in the flying underpants.
Yeah, he does.
And that is his term, because I've got one of those. I have a Police Confidential book. Like it was kind of like a sort of a like a deluxe magazine. And it's
Okay.
got all these photos from these rare photos from the that Sting took while he was, touring with the police. A lot of behind the
Pretty
scenes
cool.
stuff. And he has some photos from his Dune shoot in them. And
Oh,
he kind of like hand wrote little captions for each of the pictures.
okay.
And
Flying
then
underpants.
and he referred to like, here I am in my flying underpants.
Because I've heard a lot of people just call it that, and that must
Yeah.
be where they got it from.
Yeah,
So
probably.
we got it from Sting. No
He
big
got it
deal.
from Sting, yeah. Or he embraced it, one or the other. But either way, it's kind of cool.
Either way, yeah. Sting is wonderful in that he just embraces,
Yeah.
the camp that he's done in
Yeah.
his film career.
Well, he has fun with it.
Yeah, he does.
And I also respect Sting because, hey, he's a big Constantine fan.
Oh, well,
Because
that's good to know.
Constantine, or as the Brits like to call him, Constantine,
Constantine.
yeah, but was physically based on Sting. But
Oh, okay.
when Alan Moore and Steve Bissett, John Toltman,
Okay.
created him in Swamp Thing, Saga of the Swamp Thing, yeah, they physically based
Aware
him.
of that.
They physically based John Constantine on Sting.
Okay.
So they
That makes
two have
sense.
had this connection. So much so that Sting even wrote the foreword for DC's 20th anniversary or 25th anniversary Hellblazer collection not too long ago.
That's right. He did.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So pretty cool. Anyway,
Yes.
Max von Sydow, Ming the Merciless himself, turns up as
Being the merciless himself. Yep.
Dr. Liet Kynes.
Max. Oh man.
Yep.
Love me some Max.
Or from Strange Brew, take your pick. Flash Gordon, Strange Brew, Dune,
Any of it.
any of it
I'll
really. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good.
Max. Yeah. This movie is just full of hotties. You got
Yeah.
Sting. You got Max. You got Jurgen Prochnow. You got Kyle MacLachlan. It's just a never-ending cavalcade of hotties.
And Sean Young, just hot off of Blade Runner as Chani in this movie.
Uh-huh. Sean Young, who I adore.
Who's also a bit old for her role, but now played by Zendaya.
For her role, but, yeah, Zendaya's going to play her in the new movie. But I love Sean Young. I understand that she was a little bit of a crazy person,
especially when she wanted that Catwoman role in Batman Returns.
Yeah, no, I kind of get where she was coming from with that, but again,
did she go in like Donahue, dressed in like a Catwoman, homemade Catwoman costume?
Well, she did something like that. Yeah, she did, or she showed up somewhere in a Catwoman costume.
Some talk show.
What happened is that she had been cast as Vicky Vale.
Right.
She was originally supposed to be Vicky Vale, and
she had a horse accident, if I recall.
Horse accident. Yeah, horse accident, so she couldn't do it. And then the fact that they wouldn't even let her read for Selena Kyle, who, frankly, I think would have been a better fit for Sean Young, would have been Selena Kyle, was very upsetting to her. So she kind of went a little overboard with that. But all that being said, I think she's a great actress, and James Woods can go to hell.
Oh, here. So
yeah. We'll just say that about James Woods. He can go straight to hell.
Pretty much. Yeah. All right.
Hercules.
Change the name to James.
He is the devil.
Change the name to James Wood High School. That's all I'm saying.
He already is Hades. He should just go straight to hell.
Yeah, pretty much. He's already there.
Maybe we could set a hell trap for him and just watch him go, ooh, piece of candy.
What is this, hair out?
Yeah. Was my hair out? Hercules. Yeah. So I'm like totally dragging my feet on buying that Pez set, the Hercules Pez set.
Right.
Because I don't want to have a James Woods Pez in my house.
Well, you could just throw away the James Woods Pez.
I know, but then that's not a complete set. It's like, do I hate James Woods more than I have that collector thing?
Yeah. So does the OCD override the hatred for James Woods?
When it comes to Pez, yes, it does.
Yeah.
So it's either all or nothing at all.
Well.
Yeah.
Or, you could just kind of cover it up.
I suppose I could do that.
Yeah, put it in timeout or something.
Yeah, just put it back behind some things like I do the
unwanted. The unwanteds.
The Chick-fil-A cow that I keep hidden that I bought before I knew what Chick-fil-A was all about.
Yeah. Well, that's a very honest confession you just made.
Well, you think you're just going to go buy Pez, and then you find out a couple years later that they're horrible people. You just don't.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
you fess up to the fact that you learned and grew as a person.
There you go. That's very adult of you.
Thank you.
All right. So we got to get rid of that right away because we don't do adult here.
No. Yeah.
Total runtime for this movie, 2 hours, 16 minutes, unless you're talking the 1988 TV version that ran 3 hours, 6 minutes.
And the thing about that version,
But we don't talk about that version.
well, we don't talk. We're going to leave that version out of it.
Right.
Although I do like hearing Frank Herbert.
Okay.
Because the narration
Yes.
that they do with the animation, or not the animation, but the courtroom drawings.
The concept art, yeah. Yeah, the courtroom drawings.
Like,
but they do look like courtroom drawings, yes, they do.
That's Frank Herbert.
Right.
So that's like the only thing that is worthwhile about that is that you get to hear Frank Herbert talk.
Yeah.
So.
But it's a very slow-paced version.
Mm-hmm. Which is why it is an Alan Smithy version, because David Lynch said, you know what, nuts to this. Take my name off of this crap.
Right. So this did receive an Academy Award nomination, believe it or not, for Best Sound.
Okay.
But it lost, of course, to Amadeus, because everything lost to Amadeus.
Everything lost to Amadeus. What was this, 1984? Yeah.
1984.
Amadeus was pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Back in 1984, so.
Pinto from Animal House. Who knew, right?
Who knew? Yeah, right?
That's a little Tom Hulse. Yeah.
Yep.
A lot of people don't make that connection, but music, of course, scored by Toto. The Prophecy theme, and then I thought this was really interesting, by Brian Eno.
Yeah, which I'd like to hear more about that story. Like, what did Brian Eno? What happened that made Brian Eno go, "Screw you, Dino," and then they had to bring in Toto at the last minute?
Right. We'll see. Or maybe did they just get him for that one theme, or was that?
I don't know. That's a good question. I wasn't able to find that out.
Yeah, I think there is a story there that needs to be told.
There is a story there, yeah, and I have a feeling that it's like.
If you know it, tell it to us.
I recently watched kind of a crap. Please tell us. Yeah, I recently watched kind of a crappy documentary on Eno, and they totally glossed over it. Oddly, just like every documentary I've ever seen about Queen, they totally gloss over the Flash Gordon soundtrack.
Why?
So maybe there's something about being in a Dino De Laurentiis movie that rock stars don't want to talk about.
But Queen's Flash Gordon soundtracks, they're like one of the greatest revered soundtracks, especially for
one of the greatest
for a rock
in the history of soundtracks.
Yeah. Why would you not talk about that?
I played that soundtrack at my wedding.
Yeah. I love that soundtrack.
The bridal march, mine was the Flash Gordon one.
Right.
Yeah.
The big rock guitar version of Here Comes the Bride.
I had that at my wedding.
Yep. That's fantastic.
So
we had music from Superman the movie at my wedding.
Also good.
Yeah.
Also excellent.
John Williams score, yeah. So, do we want to do trivia, or do we want to start talking about the movie itself?
We can do some trivia.
Okay, we'll do a little bit of trivia. And feel free to, if you have, your own trivia, Xan, just let me know. Jump right in. All right. The film obviously was not very well received at the box office.
No, it was not.
It grossed only $30.9 million compared to its $40 million production budget. Now, obviously, these days, $40 million will get you a low-budget movie.
Yeah.
Right?
$40 million went a lot longer back in
1984 money, that was a pretty big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So studio execs obviously weren't very happy with that. It got savaged by the critics. No surprise because, well, hey, they hate science fiction anyway.
True. There were some people that gave it some decent reviews, like, Vanity, not Vanity Fair, Variety had some nice things to say about it.
Right.
And there are some nice things to say about it, but I feel like this movie was one of those that was destined to not be good enough for anybody.
Yeah.
Now granted, this is a very rich universe, and trying to cram it all into 2 hours is very difficult.
Yeah.
One of the best reviews I ever read of this movie was they said that the one thing that it does is either it makes you want to read or reread the book, which is what happened to me. I saw this movie and then I read the book.
Yeah, I did too.
And this is such a beloved novel that it had to be completely and totally bananas for anybody to probably love it. And it went through so many possible directors. Alejandro Jodorowsky was going to do it,
Right.
and
There's
then
a whole big documentary about his attempt.
which is a fantastic documentary. I highly recommend watching it. And
I guess they tried to get Ridley Scott, if I'm not mistaken.
They tried to get Ridley Scott, but then Ridley Scott had other things going on. He wanted to do Blade Runner and some other stuff, so he wasn't able to do it. So it went through, when Jodorowsky bought the movie rights, it was like 1972. So he had these movie rights for a while. They expired. Then Dino bought them. Dino tried for a couple of other directors.
Yeah, he renegotiated the rights, apparently, in 1981. That's one of the things I got down here.
Yeah. And the thing, and even in Jodorowsky's Dune, Alejandro Jodorowsky talks about how when he was very heartbroken to see that this movie was being made and it was not him.
Yeah.
And he went to go see it and it was terrible. And he felt bad for David Lynch.
Yeah, he didn't blame Lynch. He blamed the studio, didn't he?
Yeah, he blamed the studio. He said that it's not Lynch's fault because David Lynch is a fantastic director.
Mm-hmm.
This was only David Lynch's third feature film, but he does a fantastic job. And I'll talk more about what I think is fantastic about this when we talk about that kind of stuff later on.
Right.
But he said that he blames it all on Dino. And I do think trying to cram all of this into one movie which is why Peter Jackson did such a great job with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, because he didn't try to do Lord of the Rings as one movie.
Yeah.
Yes, there's no Tom Bombadil anywhere, but still, he split it up into 3 movies, which is
something had to go. Yeah.
Which is what should have happened with his. Even his Hobbit was split up into 3 movies.
Yeah, but a lot of people were like, "Well, why didn't you split up the Hobbit into 3 movies?"
But this should have been at least 2.
Yeah,
should have been at least 2 movies.
And I think that's probably why that Denis Villeneuve is doing that for his Dune version.
Exactly, because the problem with this book, like I said, it's very, very dense.
Yeah. And
one of the bad reviews I read of this was that it's apparently, it expects everyone to know about the Dune universe before they see this movie.
Right. One of the things go ahead.
This movie was made for people who had read the book rather than people who were going to see the movie, because if you go into it, there is a lot of confusing stuff. They don't explain a lot of, who the Mentats are, why they have Mentats, why everything looks so primitive, who these people are, what the family feud is all about. They don't really explain a lot of that stuff. You just sort of pick it up.
Yeah, you have to kind of piece together the backstory as you go along.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, one of the things that was interesting was when this movie was originally released in theaters, and I remember this because somebody on my school bus told me about this at the time.
Okay.
Keep in mind, I was like 15.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were probably
I was a sophomore in high school. Yeah. Just getting ready to drive on my own. So just about. So apparently they went to go see Dune in the movie theater, and they handed out, when you went to buy your ticket, they gave you like a glossary sheet.
They did, like
of terminology and all that, and characters, and expect you to kind of look this over before, while you're waiting for the movie to start.
Yeah. I mean, and when a movie gives you homework, some people get that, but not the general public.
Yeah. See, I would have thought that would be awesome. Because, what a cool souvenir. I can take this home after the movie.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And it's, informative. So great. It's double win, right? No, but a lot of people, they're like, reading. Ugh.
I'm at the movies. Why am I reading?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the basic problem, I would say problem, but I would say, I guess, more hurdles that this movie has to overcome is, like you said, Xan, it's a very dense story that's being packaged in 2 hours, 15 minutes, or 60 minutes. And it's also a David Lynch movie on top of that. It's David Lynch telling the story. So David Lynch telling this very complex story in a very limited time frame.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot for an audience to a general, like a mass audience, the mass movie going public to really digest, I think.
It is. Yeah, it's a lot. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
And frankly, for even for, I mean, this movie's going to be more the Denis Villeneuve movie is going to be more than most people are going to want to digest in the movie theater.
Oh, I'm sure.
There's a lot going on here.
There's people that are going to be like, well, maybe they didn't see Blade Runner 2049 or Annihilation or what have you.
Or The Arrival
Or The Arrival,
whatever.
yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Arrival, yeah. Thank you.
Or what else did he do?
I'm trying to remember. I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so it's only going to appeal to a certain audience anyway, I think. So, I mean, I'm guessing this will probably have the same reaction as his Blade Runner 2049 did.
Which was not much different than Blade Runner.
Yeah.
2019.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. So, and that takes us obviously back to Ridley Scott, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So obviously it's a lot to overcome. They had a lot of criticism, like you said, of that some of it was that they thought it wasn't very faithful to the book. That the pacing was slow. Well, hey, it's Lynch, right? Although they did praise like the visual effects and the score, the acting, the action. So I think it's this movie has its good and its bad, obviously. Lynch apparently, because we were talking about how he didn't want to be associated with that extended cut, which is why you see the name Alan Smithy, which is the director completely disavows this work.
Right. That is
pseudonym.
That is the name that Hollywood uses when the director says, "Take my name off of this."
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And interestingly, the extended version, if you're wondering about the script, because, well, he took his name off the director, but he also wrote this movie. So in the extended and TV versions, they credit Lynch as writer as Judas Booth.
Yes. Yes, they completely take his name off of it and make a little, dig at him as well.
Yeah, pretty much. They consider okay, we're going to name him after Judas and also, hey, Frank Booth, perhaps, or John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah, maybe that's where Frank Booth came from.
Maybe for Blue Velvet, because that becomes after this, right?
Well, no, because Blue Velvet was before this. Before the 1988 television version that they did.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Blue Velvet was 87.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm for whatever. I'm thinking about the original 1984. I'm like, 1984 was before Blue Velvet. No, the TV version was after that.
Yeah, the Alan Smithy version was.
It's so confusing. Yes.
There's so much timey-wiminess, Charles.
Pretty much. I should be okay with that, right? You would think.
Yeah, you should keep up.
Doing 6 years of a Doctor Who podcast, you think I'd be better with that?
You think you'd figure out the timey-wimey?
I've had a long day. I've been up since 7. Give me a break. So,
yeah.
So we talked about Dino. Yeah, he renegotiated those rights, and apparently, when he negotiated those rights in 1981 with Frank Herbert, they got the rights to do Dune sequels in the process that never materialized because after the first movie tanked, well, hey, all the plans for the sequels went bye-bye.
Right, and David Lynch was gone, and to this day, David Lynch does not talk about this movie. He prefers not to talk about Dune, which is sad. But he also, he took a lot of David Lynch players with him that I don't think would have wanted to come back without him.
Yeah. He
specifically Paul frickin' Atreides.
Yeah. It's kind of important, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Lynch was reportedly working on the screenplay for Dune Messiah, so he was planning to do the next book.
Which sucks.
Which sucks because I would have loved to have seen that, but
that book is not the best of the. I
don't know. I thought it was adapted pretty well by Sci-Fi, considering.
Yeah, it's just not my favorite of the books.
Yeah.
What do you call a 5-part series? A quintet?
A quadrilogy. No, a
quadrilogy.
No, I'm sorry.
Quintrilogy.
Quintrilogy because.
Okay.
Or quintology because. Quadrilogy is 4, so quintology, I'm guessing. I don't know.
All right, whatever. 5 parts.
It's a 5-part thing, yeah. Or 6 parts if you count that final book, Chapter House Dune.
No, we're not going to. No, by Brian Herbert. And,
no, that was by Frank. That one's by Frank.
Chapter House is by Frank?
Chapter House is by Frank. Yeah, that's his last book, I believe.
I don't think we do count that, so.
Although I kind of, like I did like the prequels, the House Atreides, House Harkonnen, and House Carino books that Brian did with Kevin
Yeah,
Anderson.
those are pretty good.
Kevin
Yeah.
Anderson, I really like those. So yeah, but apparently Lynch was also at the time he was contracted to do if they did a second and third Dune movie, he would have done them supposedly.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that he would have at least tried to do more, I think. And let's see that Virginia Madsen said that she was originally signed for 3 films because the producers, according to her, quote, thought they were going to make Star Wars for grown-ups.
Yeah, Star Wars for grown-ups.
So that was their mindset. They're like, okay, the Star Wars is for the kids. So this is like, adult science fiction. This is the artistic.
Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so instead of Star Wars, getting Oscars, well, we're going to make this, and then we're going to get Oscars with this. So
yeah, I mean,
didn't quite work out, but yeah. I find it really interesting. One of the things that came up in my research was that, and I kind of forgot about this, that Lynch was offered Return of the Jedi around this time.
He was offered Return of the Jedi,
but then he said, told Lucas, no, you do that. That's your thing. I'm going to go do this Dune thing.
Yeah. Honestly, I think I'd rather watch David Lynch Dune than I want to watch David Lynch Ewoks.
But how interesting would that be to watch?
But see, that's the thing.
That's
Charles,
that's a great what if. Like a David Lynch Star Wars film. How great would that be?
That would be very. I think
it'd be fascinating, even if it wasn't
it'd be
very
fascinating.
good.
But I really think that he would be better with something like a Rogue One or an Empire Strikes Back, something much darker.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that.
Because like we've talked about, Charles, David Lynch is not all just, weirdness and backwards talking little people. David Lynch can do anything. So if, David Lynch obviously can take somebody else's material and turn it into something fantastic. But
maybe we need a campaign to get David Lynch to direct an episode of The Mandalorian.
Okay, that would be incredible.
Right?
I would love that. Mm-hmm.
Direct an episode of The Mandalorian. Make that happen, Lucasfilm.
That would be
or not Lucas. Yeah. Get that done.
Come on, Favreau.
I want to see that. Yeah,
I know
Favreau
you listen
needs
to this podcast, John Favreau.
Right, because they all do. They all do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dave Filoni. Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard. I know you're listening to this.
Yep.
Taika Waititi, you're here, Taika.
We love what we do in the shadows, Taika. So we're all you've got to be part of this, right? All right. So, do you have any other trivia that we didn't cover that I didn't cover?
I have depressing trivia.
Yeah. Why don't you share your depressing trivia?
Yeah. This movie is dedicated to the memory of Federico De Laurentiis, who is the son of Dino De Laurentiis and Silvana Mangano, who plays the Fremen Revan mother.
Yes. The one who dies and then Jessica takes over. Yeah. Yeah,
the one who dies and Jessica takes over. Yeah. They were married for quite a while. I believe they married in the 50s and they got divorced in like 1987 or something like that.
Okay. So not long before this.
And not long after this. Yeah.
Well, you said 1978. I thought you.
1987.
Oh, I'm sorry.
1987.
Like I said, it's been a long day. I'm Perry.
It's been a long day.
I apologize.
Yeah, he was their son, and a couple of years before this movie, he was killed in a plane crash.
It's just horrible.
So, it's terrible. Yeah. So that is who Federico De Laurentiis is. Yeah. And that was my other trivia, that Silvana Mangano and Dino De Laurentiis were married.
Yep. That's pretty good. That's pretty good trivia. So shame it didn't work out, and it's very terrible about their son. But
yeah, it's horrible. Nobody should ever have to go through that.
Parents should never have to outlive their kids.
Nope. That is not how nature intended it.
It's not supposed to work like that. All right. So I know we've already talked a lot about the backstory on this movie. So let's talk about the movie itself.
Let's talk about the movie.
So how about we could break this up this way. Why don't we talk about House Atreides first?
Talk about House Atreides. All right.
House Atreides. So obviously the movie centers around Paul. Paul is apparently destined for greater things, as it turns out.
Which everybody is feeling. We've got the mining guild is They know something's up with him. The Bene Gesserit Sisterhood knows something's up with him. So everybody, he's the one to watch.
Yeah.
In 10,191.
He's the it guy.
He's the it guy in 10,191.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's people's sexiest Kwisatz Haderach alive.
Heck yeah, he is. I could have told you that.
Yeah, I guess you're kind of biased in that regard. All right. Granted.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So here in the year 10191, Paul is being trained by people like Gurney Halleck and his mentor, Thufir Hawat.
And Duncan Idaho, his
Duncan
friend,
Idaho, right.
partner. And here's something that they don't tell you in this movie that would be nice to know, is that in this culture, this is kind of a post-apocalyptic culture.
Yeah.
Because they had like a Skynet situation at some point in their history. So
yeah, we kind of get that in the monologue, in the Irulan's monologue. There was like the fall of these machine titans. So maybe it's kind of like more like the Matrix too, a little bit.
Like the Matrix or Skynet or something.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they abandon the concept of computers. So, which is why they have mentats. Mentats are human computers that do all of their equations for them.
Right.
And that's what Thufir Hawat is. That's what Peter de Vries is. And the spice helps them with that, which is why they're so. That's why their mouths are red.
Yeah, that's why they have the darkened lips and whatever. And so essentially
lips.
they're like spice fueled brainiacs.
Spice fueled human computers essentially is what they are. And I think that's one thing about this movie that we don't give David Lynch and honestly, there is the Dino-ness of the set design.
Right. Glorious sets. Glorious
sets. And they do a fantastic job of looking futuristic yet primitive, because you have those floating lights that follow you everywhere when you walk in another room, and you have the elegance of something like sealing your communication with your signet ring and sending it through a system of tubes, probably.
Tubes. Like kind of like the internet. Yeah, it's full of tubes.
Or Brazil, where you have all the ducts and everything. So you have all of that stuff, and then you have their shields, which are sort of high tech, but they're more of a physical thing rather than a analytical technology. They have the weirding way. They have those elegant, primitive, old-looking microphones when they talk on their radios.
Right.
That's what that's all about. It's not a stylistic choice. It's because this is a technologically advanced, computerless culture.
Yeah. One of the things I found interesting about that, now that you brought it up, Lynch, goes out of his way to take this very futuristic society, and he also infuses it with his beloved industrialism in a lot of ways.
Yes.
You see a lot. You see a lot of steam. You see, like there's that. I'm thinking of the scene when the navigators are brought in.
The spice navigators.
The spice navigators in their big tank, and you've got these kind of like weird little hench guys.
That, by the way, is what the spice will do to you. That is prolonged exposure to spice.
Right, exactly. And that's one of the things that's covered in those Brian Herbert, Kevin Anderson prequels, is that essentially the spice mutates humans into these navigators.
Into the face of Bo,
right? Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much. That's a great comparison. You are not alone.
Yeah.
I see two great houses. Yeah,
Beauty.
pretty much.
I see you behind it. Yeah. So you do have.
I see the doctor behind it. Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor is behind it.
Or the master. Take your pick.
Either one. Yeah. You do have that. You have that industrialism. You have that.
But it's also like kind of like an Art Deco in a lot of ways.
An Art Deco, almost Gothic feel to it.
There's a lot of. It's a hybrid of a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie.
Yeah. But it's
So,
really, in all credit to Lynch, because his artistry comes through here, that this movie just looks great. I mean, it's
this is
real,
all about the art life.
and it's not just, it's not just pretty, it's interesting.
Right. It's not just pretty, it's interesting because you're looking at things, like I said, like,
Because there are some very ugly things in this, which are
yeah.
way up Lynch's alley.
hmm And just things that make you uncomfortable.
Yeah,
Like,
especially on the Harkonnen world, right? Giddy Prime.
right. Like, yeah, Giddy Prime, like the heart ports, or even the Navigator. The Navigator is the Eraserhead baby all grown up.
Pretty much. That's what he grew up into, in case you're
That's
wondering.
yeah, exactly. I told you it wasn't a baby. You didn't listen to me.
Right. And, he's even got that same mouth a little bit. So, so essentially the navigators are telling the Emperor, Shaddam, because it's like this big consortium, almost. And they basically say, look out for Paul.
Yeah. Well, they say kill him.
Yeah, kill it. Well, I mean, you're right. Yes, they do say,
Yeah.
but they see him as a problem. And the Emperor's not really buying this. He's like,
right.
What are you talking about? Surely you mean Duke Leto Atreides. No, we mean Paul Atreides.
No, we mean Paul Atreides. We want him killed.
Yeah. And then they'll they do the whole, like, I did not say this. I am not here kind of thing.
Which is the most David Lynch line in this whole movie.
Right.
I did not say this. I was not here.
Yeah.
You can hear Philip Jeffries saying that, can't you?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it. That tank that the Navigator is in, that's Philip Jeffries'
That is the
tank.
Philip Jeffries tin machine.
Pretty much, that's the tin machine.
Yeah, for reals.
So yeah,
so
it's all connected,
yeah,
right?
There's a lot going on with that, and yeah, it's a corrupt system because, let's talk about the spice for a minute, Charles.
Yeah, let's talk about the spice melange.
The spice is life.
The spice must flow.
The spice must flow because he who controls the spice controls the universe.
Right.
Because the spice is what makes space travel possible. The spice on your head. I know how it got there. You were hanging a clock. And anyway.
You got very wistful there for a moment.
That was my paraphrasing of Back to the Future.
Yeah, that was great.
Instead of it being what makes time travel possible,
yes,
this is what makes space travel possible.
Yep.
So
it's Mr. Spice.
Yeah, Mr. Spice.
Mr. Spice.
Instead of Mr. Fusion. Yeah. And what happens is when they actually travel without moving in this. And man, I wish this was real.
Right. Oh yeah, it's like instant transportation. Yeah, because essentially in these great Lynch visuals, you see the Navigator floating up, kind of like the giant in the movie theater.
Yep.
In The Return, or excuse me, the fireman, not the giant. I stand corrected. The fireman floating up, and so the Navigator spews a bunch of spice or space dust or what have you, magic pixie dust, and opens one part of the universe, and then opens another channel for everything all the fleets of ships that are inside this super carrier to travel through.
Right. What they do is they fold space.
Right.
So basically it's similar to, if you've read A Wrinkle in Time.
Yes.
It's similar to a tesseract, where if you consider a string and if you're holding a string and you've got a bug on one side by your right hand, it's going to have to walk across the string to get to your left hand.
Right.
Unless you bring your hands together.
The 2 points together, yes.
The 2 points together, and then the bug is just already there, which is essentially the concept of folding space.
Yes.
So, in order to have a known universe, you have to have this kind of space travel. And you can't really travel these long distances without this kind of technology, because it just takes too long otherwise.
Yeah.
So that's how he who controls the spice controls the universe. So we've got this, the mining guild and the navigators and the people who are the spice wranglers, I guess, for lack of a better term.
Right.
They're the ones that manufacture and maneuver with the spice.
They manipulate it.
And right, they manipulate the spice. And they know that if Paul Atreides shows up as a Kwisatz Haderach and makes it rain on the one planet where the spice is created by desert worms,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to screw yourself out of spice.
It's worm poop. Sandworm poop.
Yes, that is the whole movie we talk about what is the relationship between the spice and the worms. And it's like, no worms, no spice.
It's a byproduct. Yeah, exactly.
It's a byproduct of the worms. And just like the water of life is a byproduct of the worms, the spice is a byproduct of the worms. So,
when they're talking the spice must flow, apparently it means like, the sandworms peeing, apparently. Urinating.
Right, that's the thing. And
they really have to urinate.
King of beers. Heineken. But,
Pabst Blue Ribbon.
The worms, maybe when they summon the lightning makes them poop. I don't know what it is.
It's a whole thing.
Worms. And you don't have worms if you don't have their climate. And if you make it rain on their climate, you're not going to have worms anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why they're so afraid.
It's not quite the making it rain that you want. Let's put it that way.
Exactly. No. It's exactly not what you want. And so they know that Paul is going to upend the entire universe with his power. He's going to be a greater power than they've ever seen.
Right.
The Bene Gesserit Sisterhood for 90 generations has been trying to manipulate this. So this is a long-standing legend of the Kwisatz Haderach.
Right. This big prophecy and Paul is right at the center of this thing. As it turns out, after a test by the Reverend Mother Mohiam, and she becomes very suspicious because Paul was essentially unintended. Because she had told Lady Jessica, her protege, who was also in the sisterhood, that you're going to have a girl. And
that's something that they can do.
Right.
Is they can manipulate that. So they can ensure that will be what happens. But
Jessica was in love with Leto, and Leto wanted a son, an heir. So she disobeyed her sisterhood and gave him a male heir instead.
Exactly. And I don't think she was thinking that she was going to maybe possibly give birth to the Kwisatz Haderach. I think she was just thinking, maybe we'll do this girl thing later, which they do.
Right. Yeah. I want a boy first, and then we'll do the girl later.
Then we'll do the girl later, and it's going to be very odd, but that's what's going to happen.
Yeah. She's going to be one of those people one of those couples that I just want to complete the set. So we'll have a girl, we'll shoot for a girl next time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But so as a result, the Reverend Mother says, okay, well, you made this male heir. Okay, let's test him and see, I don't think it's him, but you never know. So she hasn't put Paul's hand inside this box, which essentially becomes this big mental. It's not so much a physical torture as it is psychological, and it's almost like the box projects the feeling that Paul's skin is burning off of his hands, and he's told that if he removes his hands, the Reverend Mother will stick him with this gum jabbar, which is tipped with this very cyanide-like poison.
Essentially what's going on is that only a human can resist their impulses.
The pain. Yeah.
Well, it's not that they can't resist the pain, it's that they can resist their impulses and instincts to move your hand away. As a human, you can hypnotize me into thinking that my hand is on fire, but I can also look at it and realize, no, it's not. You're just messing with my brain.
Right.
And that's what's going on in the box. It's pain by nerve induction. They're making you think that that the flesh on your hand is burning off, but you have to keep your hand in the box to prove that you can control your instincts and your impulses. And if you can't, that's when the gom jabbar is going to get you, because the gom jabbar only kills animals, and animals, not humans.
Yeah.
Humans are the only ones that can
be killed.
Control that.
Yeah.
Right.
So I love the way that the Reverend Mother describes, the pain that he's feeling, where she goes like, "You can feel your flesh crisping,"
Crisping, yes.
which is like an amazing verb right there.
You feel flesh dripping. It's
Yes.
like, oh God, so gross.
Yeah, it was pretty nasty. Great visuals though. Great imagery.
Right.
So Paul passes this test presumably because
Yes.
no other male had, I guess, kept his hand in the box for that long.
You mean they tried and failed?
No, they tried and died.
Yes, they did. Thank you.
Which is another great line. I love that line.
Yeah, that's a great line. Yeah.
So Paul is now like, okay, so now Paul has the sisterhood. He's basically now hit the sisterhood's radar at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So at
Which
this
is, depending on who it is maybe a good thing, maybe a bad thing.
right.
If it's Lady Jessica, it's perfectly fine. But if it's Reverend Rohayim, I don't trust her at all.
No, and no way should anybody be trusting her.
No.
So the sisterhood has its own agenda. And while all this is going on, the Atreides are essentially told by the Emperor, okay, we're going to let you take control of Arrakis, the planet where,
And Arrakis,
Dune, desert planet, where the spice is produced,
it is
and put you in charge of the production.
The only place in the universe that the spice is found. Yeah.
Right,
So this
right.
this is like the Middle East of their universe.
Yeah, and the Harkonnens are essentially letting the Atreides come in.
Well, they sort of get voted out.
They get kicked out, but essentially they're, like we talked about, they're not accepting the outcome of the election.
They're not accepting the outcome, and they refuse to, because Arrakis was stolen from them.
Right.
This was a fraudulent Arrakis.
Hashtag stop the steal.
Yeah, stop the steal of Arrakis.
Stop the steal of Arrakis.
Fraudulent. These are, the suicide bombers putting in the devices.
Yep.
I love you, but go home.
Exactly. Yeah. Baron Harkonnen is telling the suicide, the people planning all the devices and all the threats.
You're putting a sabotage device.
Yes.
Go home. I love you.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So that's what's going on here.
Yeah. Proud Sadikar, stand by.
Yes, stand by. Yeah, exactly. And so they won't accept the transfer of power, so they have this plot to take down.
Yeah.
Once they move in, they're just going to take them down.
Well, it also helps that, oh, by the way, and this kind of segues into, us talking about the Harkonnens, that, oh, hey, they've got a traitor inside.
Who is this traitor?
This traitor.
Traitor.
So essentially we're having an insurrection from the inside.
Apparently the insurrection was an inside job because
the insurrection is coming from inside the house.
Yeah, somebody knew what office to find the signet ring.
Right, exactly. There were probably tours in advance.
Yeah, somebody.
The Harkonnens before the Atreides showed up, the Harkonnens were showing them around, going, you should really go here.
He's like, you know what? These are just my patients that I'm showing around where I work. Yep. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all
you should plant these devices here, 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 and here.
Here, 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 and here. And there's my message.
Yeah. Put some hunter seekers here, and
We have hunter seekers, and we've got some people working on the inside that are heroes too, that make sure that the signet ring gets out.
Right,
and,
exactly.
And he also makes sure that they get still suits and the signet ring make it out safely.
So Dr. Wellington Huey, as it turns out, is not happy about his wife being killed.
He's essentially the Count of Monte Cristo in this.
Ooh, that's a good comparison. I never thought about that.
So obsessed with revenge on the Baron for killing his wife.
Right.
That he can't see the bad deal he's been dealt.
Yeah, it's the exclusion of all reason, essentially.
It's pure obsession.
Yeah. And he's willing to do anything to get his revenge. Even so, he's basically throwing House Atreides under the bus just to get his revenge on Baron Harkonnen.
I mean, he gets it.
He sort of gets it indirectly.
Well, Alia does kill the Baron.
Right.
So,
but Yui didn't see that. And Yui had no idea that she was even pregnant, probably.
no, Yui didn't see that. And Yui knew he probably wouldn't see the Duke do it either. But, yeah, Yui gets killed by Piter de Vries because anytime you make a deal with a psychopath, they will double cross you.
Right.
Did you not see The Dark Knight?
Right. Curse your sudden inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, no, I killed the bus driver.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Well
you
played.
cannot make a deal with a psychopath and expect him to keep his end of the bargain. If movies have taught me anything, it's that.
Where'd you learn to count?
Yeah.
So, because of Yui's betrayal, Leto gets captured and killed, but not before taking out Piter de Vries.
Yes, with the tooth.
With the tooth. Remember the tooth. The tooth.
Again, that's one of the neat things about this story with the, even their weapons are very deadly, but very low tech, like the Hunter Seeker. It just is a motion sensor.
Yeah.
And the tooth is it's essentially a poison gas pellet in the shape of a tooth.
Well, what I found interesting about it, it's almost Shakespearean.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is like I've poisoned his goblet, that kind of thing.
It's an epic tragedy because you have the two houses feuding and the betrayal and the traitor.
You got a little bit of Romeo and Juliet in there. You've got It's very interesting. A lot of different, like I said, it's very Shakespearean, I thought. But so House Atreides has fallen. Lady Jessica and her son Paul end up escaping because they were taken prisoner by the Baron's men, presumably to be brought back to Gidi Prime.
Yeah, they were on their way to Gidi Prime, but
they basically get out of their bonds with the help of Paul mastering the voice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's using the voice.
He's using the voice, and he's pretty good at it too. And the voice is essentially the Jedi mind trick of the Dune universe, where it's this forceful voice that makes people do your bidding. Especially the weak-willed are very susceptible to the voice.
The weak-minded, yeah, exactly.
The voice can have a strong effect on the weak-minded.
Yeah. These are not the Atreides you're looking for.
These aren't the Atreides we're looking for.
Yeah. So Paul uses the voice enough to get one of the men to release his mother's bonds, including her gag, because she's like the master of this.
And that's why they've gagged her, because they know that she's one of those witches that can make men do whatever she wants them to.
Right.
So they gag her, and once they take the gag off, she essentially makes them kill each other.
Yeah. But in the process, their shuttle crashes in the desert.
In the high desert, out in the middle of no freaking where there's gigantic sandworms that come at any sort of rhythmic vibration.
Now, the good news is that Yui packed away some still suits that they can wear to help them survive in the desert. And they do have like a couple of thumpers and a few little supplies.
Right.
But essentially all they're doing is thinking of we got to get to this rock outcropping.
Essentially, the way you would handle the graboids and tremors is the way you would handle the worms in Dune.
Yeah. If you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. As Fat Boy Slim taught us.
Exactly.
Weapon of choice.
When you say that, it makes me want to say it the way Fat Boy Slim does.
If you walk without rhythm, you won't attract the worm. Yeah. Now you can't help but picture what's his face dancing.
Check out my new weapon.
Weapon of choice.
What's his face, Charles?
I'm blanking it. Yes, Christopher Walken. Yes, I know. I was having a break. I'm old. Give me a break.
Why has he never been in a David Lynch project?
You would think, right?
He seems so perfect.
He does. So, seems like a lost opportunity.
Have you ever seen Pennies from Heaven, Charles?
I have not.
It's a fantastic movie. It's one of those musicals that doesn't feel like a musical because it's very similar to the singing detective, where people are singing, but they're actually lip syncing.
Right.
And Christopher Walken has this great line. He's talking to Bernadette Peters, and he says to her, "You're not a tease, are you? Because I'll cut your face." And it's just so scary when it's Christopher Walken when he says that. Yeah, it's one of my favorite Christopher Walken roles.
Yeah, he can really throw that on when he wants to. That's funny.
Because I'll cut your face. He's so matter of fact about it. It doesn't even feel threatening. He just is gonna do it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it does seem like a really big oversight that he hasn't been in a Lynch film.
The ice is gonna break. I say all the time for no reason, apropos of nothing. I just love to say that one.
That's great. All right, so Paul and Jessica are out there. They essentially, in the process of Paul, this is where Paul sees a sandworm for the first time, and he also takes in that first nice big whiff of melange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He feels it on his fingers, and after, this is after, that was also after, he and his father had helped rescue David Lynch and some other guys from their mining facility going under.
And he also ate that piece of spice, that piece of
spice candy.
It's like a
Jolly Rancher.
No, what am I looking for? Pressed spice, like formed and pressed spice. He ate a piece of that, and it has started altering his consciousness, which is what is accelerating this process of him becoming Kwisatz Haderach.
Essentially, the spice is jump-starting his visions and his whole evolution into this Kwisatz Haderach. Yeah,
his Kwisatz Haderachery.
That's easy for you to say. Yeah, exactly.
It is not, actually.
Kwisatz Haderach. Yep.
Kwisatz Haderach.
Haderach.
Kwisatz Haderach. Yep, that's what's doing it.
Interesting. All right, so the Fremen show up at this point,
which we have been given a little bit of information by Kynes.
Yes,
that the Fremen seem to be this fringe people, but there's lots of them.
Yeah, apparently there's more than anybody realizes out there.
Right, but this is a planet. These are the people that actually run this planet, not anybody who pretends to as a order from the Emperor. Yeah. This planet is run by the Fremen.
And apparently Duncan and Kynes are like, you guys should, make friends with the Fremen.
Like totally make friends with the Fremen.
Totally make friends.
After Kynes and Duncan are killed, the one who gets away from the Harkonnen insurrection is Gurney Halleck, and he basically becomes one of the Fremen.
Yeah. Well, for a long time there, he's kind of like off on his own.
Mm-hmm.
He's kind of like almost like a scavenger or some kind of I don't want to say.
He's Mad Max, basically.
Exactly. He's out there in the wilderness, essentially. And it's kind of funny because like Patrick Stewart's got his, he's got his. He's balding, but he has this like really long mullet thing going.
He has a mullet, yeah. He has a still suit and a mullet. It's really badass.
He's got a Picard mullet going on.
He does, yeah. It's pretty impressive.
So he's out there, and then after when Paul's with the Fremen and they get reunited, and it's just like, oh hey, Gurney, you're alive. You're not dead after all. You want to hook up?
Like, I thought you were dead. Are you really Paul? Yes, you're really Paul. Okay.
You want to join my crew?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Yep.
Let's ride this worm, baby.
Let's rock. So Paul, now that he's been taken in with the Fremen, turns out, well, hey, the Fremen, their Reverend Mother is dying. They kind of need a new one.
I'm tired. You should come and let her rest.
Yeah. So, hey, Lady Jessica, you want to be our new Reverend Mother? You want to shave your head?
Why not? Sure. Give me the bile of those worms. I'll drink it. I'll do what I got to do here.
Yeah. And then in the process, hey, she ends up giving birth to...
It accelerates the growth of Alia, her unborn daughter. So her unborn daughter is... Yeah. She essentially also takes the water of life. So
the last surviving heir of Leto, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, the last surviving heir of Leto so far.
Right.
And, well, I mean, technically, if Paul and Chani have children, those will also be heirs of Leto. So.
Yes, you're right. Which
But
they do.
But right, which they do.
That's
Oh.
that's Dune
May I
Messiah.
direct you to the novel called
Dune Messiah.
Children of Dune?
And Children of Dune, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Alia is sort of born with the knowledge of every Reverend Mother that's ever come before her.
Yeah, so apparently because she was, in utero on Arrakis.
You know how they tell you in health class that whatever you drink or smoke, your baby drinks or smokes?
Right. This is pretty much what
It's
happens.
exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah. And because of Jessica, I think didn't she take the water of life?
She takes the water of life to become the Reverend Mother. So
yeah, so in the
you
process,
drink worm bile,
yeah,
your unborn child drinks worm bile.
Yeah, exactly. So now, Alia has all this knowledge coming out of the womb.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
So she's already preloaded, apparently. Ready to go.
Yeah, she's plug and play.
Yeah, she's plug and play. Pretty much. Yep. So even at the toddler stage, when she should be behind a baby gate, she's got the full capacity of a Reverend Mother.
Yep.
Which is pretty interesting.
Exactly.
So Paul, meanwhile, is still keeps taking in those spice, breathing in that spice, having more visions, really coming into his own. He essentially steps up and organizes the Fremen into this massive fighting force, this insurgent army, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Their resistance, almost, in a lot of ways. That they kind of lead their own little guerrilla-style warfare against...
They're essentially going to take back their own planet.
Yeah, and so they kind of lay siege on the Harkonnen troops, and and they basically sabotage all these facilities around Arrakis to slow down spice production, which is now being overseen by Raban.
And it is not going well.
No, it's not looking good for Raban. Because essentially now that the spice production has flowed, everybody's looking over at the Harkonnens like, what the hell are you doing? You took things back over, and now this happens.
Well, because thing that Paul Atreides has been being taught, and that the Fremen are also aware of, is this new kind of fighting called the weirding way, which is sound-based. You have a weirding module that basically amplifies your vocal tonal sounds into
a weapon. Yeah, weaponizes it.
So you can have as many guns and stuff as you want, but they have these weirding modules that just by essentially yelling at something, they can break through the hardest stone, the strongest steel, whatever you've got. So they are just kicking Raban's ass across the desert and back. And he's doing everything he can to make sure Uncle Baron doesn't figure it out, because he knows that his heart plug is on its way out if the Baron finds out that he just cannot handle the Atreides and the Fremen. So,
everyone has one here, Thufa.
Everyone has one here. Don't feel bad. You're gonna come in. You're gonna get a heart plug. It's gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
Mine's the biggest. Mine's huge.
Huge heart plug.
So the Fremen are being trained. Paul trains 100 of the greatest warriors, and they in turn will train the thousands who follow.
Yep.
And
it's like a whole pyramid scheme going on.
Yeah, it's like a whole Ponzi scheme of warriors. Yeah. But what we find out when Paul...
It's like the Melaleuca of warriors.
When Paul fights Feyd to the death, we find that he's able to wield the weirding way without a module.
Right.
Just his voice.
Uso no longer needs the weirding module.
And his name is a killing word. Yep. All he has to do is say his name, and Sting will crack open at the chest.
Yep. He just pops right open there, don't you know?
He just pops right open. Yep.
Just like that.
Are you talking about that little bass player that got murdered?
Oh, that's hilarious.
I like to paraphrase all
Yeah.
of my David Lynch quotes to make them relevant to each other.
That was magic. The interconnectedness of all things right here. That was just magic.
You know, he's got a knife under his jaw,
Yep.
paper under your fingernail. It's kind of the same thing, right?
Yeah, no, it's no big deal. Right.
So yeah, we've got
So
we have 3 rock stars in the David Lynch universe. Or am I forgetting anybody?
let's see. Chris Isaac. We had Sting.
Sting, David Bowie.
David Bowie. Yeah, you're right. That's the third.
Am I missing anyone? Well, you know, James Hurley.
Yeah.
I guess Eddie Vedder.
Yeah, kinda. But
Eddie
I mean,
Vedder,
but you could say that about Trent Reznor and all the others too, right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, let's keep the.
Let's keep them
We're
out.
not going to talk. We're not going to talk about the Roadhouse. We're going to leave the Roadhouse out.
We're gonna leave the Roadhouse out of this. Yeah. But.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
But
David Lynch has got the best of the best when it comes to rock stars.
Pretty much, yeah. But you gotta admit, Sting was a very cool get. So
Sting's fantastic. Sting is a really good actor. Even when Sting has been on Saturday Night Live, he's been fantastic.
Right.
And you know, we've mentioned a few movies, Brimstone and Treacle, and The Bride, and Dune. And they're not all the greatest movies in the world, but I love them, and Sting is great in them.
Yes, he is. So, I've had the honor of seeing all those concerts by him. So, because I'm a big Sting guy. So, Sting and the Police, that's my jam.
I've seen Sting twice, I think.
Okay.
I think, yeah, twice sounds right.
I've seen him 4 times, and with the Police, when they did their reunion tour, I saw that twice.
See, I thought about that, but I just didn't have $600 at the time.
It wasn't that much.
Good seats were.
Yeah. We did okay seats for like 100, it was like 150, I think.
That's not terrible, but it was a lot of money for what either would have been crappy seats or really good seats by the time we were able to do it. But it just did not. And
but it was so worth it.
Don't get me wrong. As much as I would have loved to have seen Stuart Copeland in person.
Oh, that was fantastic. Watching Stuart drum. Oh my God, that was the best.
I love me some
He's
Stuart
still so damn good on those drums.
Oh yeah, they're all fantastic. Andy's amazing too. I love me some Andy. Yeah,
yep.
I'm not gonna forget about Andy at all.
Nope, don't forget about Andy Summers. Nope.
Yeah. So no, actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, all the rock stars that have been in David Lynch projects, I've seen them in concert because I've seen Chris Isaac and I've
seen Chris Isaac as well. So Lori and I did that once. We saw him at the Palace, I believe.
I was at that show.
Really? We were at the same show?
Where the wallflowers open?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at that show.
That was great because he's just like he was just joking around with the crowd and the audience, and that was amazing. We were at the same freaking show and we didn't know.
Same show. Yeah.
Oh my God, I gotta tell Lori this. That's hilarious.
Yeah, we did not know each other at the time.
Wow.
But yeah, I went with my friend Beth, and that's the show where he signed my Fire Walk With Me soundtrack. It was at that show.
I would have loved to. Didn't you? Yeah, I think you told me that you waited out for him to come out for that?
He came. I kind of left, like, he was at the merch table signing stuff.
Okay.
And we kind of like left like about 2/3 into the last song of his encore.
Right.
So we could like be first in line out there. And then he came out in that suit that he had that looked like a mirror ball, that looked like a disco ball.
Yeah.
He came out and he signed stuff, and
that's cool.
He signed the soundtrack for me as Agent Chet Desmond.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, that was that show.
Oh wow! I wish I would have known you then. That's a
I
shame.
know, that would have been fun. We could have all gone together.
Yeah, we could have just hung out afterward. Yeah.
We at least could have shared the parking. My God, the Levesque Tower. Did you cost more?
Right. Yeah, most overpriced parking.
Seriously, it's not as bad as Polaris was. Thank you very much. But
yeah, that wasn't great either. I'll agree with that.
It still wasn't great.
All right. Sorry, guys. We just got on this big Columbus music scene discussion there. Sorry about that. So,
hang on.
Yep, Forever Blue.
Yeah. My favorite blue sweatshirt on my favorite
You
blue
got
album.
that one signed? Nice. He put a little halo over himself.
Halo over himself, yep. So that was like to sort of commemorate.
Got delusions of grandeur.
I'm out of it for a few,
Right.
for a while, and everybody gets delusions of grandeur.
Going to the Fat Trout Trailer Park, and everyone has delusions of grandeur.
That's just more shit I got to do today, Charles. Yep.
So
anything
back to Dune. Back to Dune.
Signed by people.
Yeah. So anything else you want to talk about Dune?
Well, so we talked about.
I know we kind of skipped around there a little bit, but.
Well, we talked about the Atreides. We talked about the Harkonnens. Did we talk enough about the Fremen, do you think?
Maybe not. So.
Well, let's talk about the ridiculous bullshit political loveless marriage misogyny crap relationship concepts that go on in this story.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because Lady Jessica is not the Duchess. She is his concubine.
Yes.
She is his bound concubine.
Right. And because apparently it was cool in this society that you could have essentially a mistress, a royal mistress.
And that's the thing. And he's not. Duke Leto didn't actually marry anybody else.
No, he didn't.
But Lady Jessica was his bound concubine, and as he's dying, he says he calls out. He says, "Jessica, I should have married you."
Right.
So, he knows he screwed the pooch on that one.
Yeah. I mean, he loved her, so it's not like
they loved each other. It wasn't like she was
right.
It wasn't like she was his concubine and he was her rapist.
And she's upset that he dies.
Yeah, they were very much in love with each other. That's why she became his bound concubine, because that's all she could do.
Right. And she's all like, "Leto, he's dead. He's dead."
And
really powerful scene by Francesca Annis, by the way.
She's incredible, you know. And if you're gonna have to get divorced from Alex Kingston, there's nowhere else you can go besides Francesca Annis. Which is literally what happened with Ralph Fiennes and Alex Kingston.
God, I didn't know they were together.
Alex Kingston and Ralph Fiennes were married.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So River Song herself.
Yeah, River Song herself was married to Lord Voldemort.
Wow.
And I think they got married in like 1988 or something like that.
Then he hooked up with Lady Jessica. That's an interesting geek trifecta there.
They divorced in like 97, around the time that she was on ER. Mm-hmm. And then he dated Francesca Annis for like 11 years after they got divorced.
Oh, wow. I learned something today, you guys.
Yeah. Xan knows who the hot guys are married to. So
funny how that works. It's almost like you're keeping tabs on them.
Amazing how that works. Well, you gotta have something to do when you're staying 500 feet away from everybody.
That's how you occupy your time. Okay, I see how it is.
Yeah. That's why I just have obsessions with like British and Canadian guys. I make it easy on the authorities.
Okay, so you limit yourself geographically.
Yeah, if I'm just going to be obsessed with someone, they're gonna.
That's good.
I just make it easy on the authorities, and I do it from afar.
Okay, well that's
so.
Good. That's less extradition that they have to worry about, I guess.
It's less extradition.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, unfortunately, this fate also befalls the relationship of Paul and Chani.
Yes.
Paul and Chani, who, Paul has fallen in love with Chani from his dreams.
Right. And she's literally his dream girl.
Literally his dream girl. And when they meet, they feel that
Tell me of your homeworld, Usul.
You're right. They're instantly connected, and they are in love, and she is she's the daughter of Stilgar, and Stilgar approves of their relationship.
Right.
But for political reasons,
I thought she was the daughter of Liet Kynes.
No, Kynes is not a Fremen.
That's right. I'm sorry, I got it backwards.
Kynes is just a
Okay.
He's one of the Atreides men who lives with the Fremen
Right.
and has worked with them. That
He's
becomes
embedded with the Fremen.
right, right. He is ingratiated by the Fremen,
Yeah.
and he gets the blue on blue eyes because he's been on Arrakis so long.
Yeah.
Pretty much anyone who lives in the desert for any prolonged period of time gets the blue on blue eyes.
I don't know why I
Um,
thought they were related. Okay. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, she's Stilgar's daughter.
All right. Sorry to
But
interrupt.
no, it's okay. But for political reasons, he marries Irulan,
Right.
and
So
then
essentially, it's an arranged
right,
like royal marriage.
right, and then Chani becomes his known concubine.
Right.
Like he's married to Irulan, but it's very it's just on paper.
Right.
And it's very, very difficult. And you get more of this in the book than you do in the movie, but it's very, very difficult for Chani. But they, after a few books, they figure it
Yeah.
out.
Well, it's also difficult for Irulan because she loves Paul.
She's also in love with Paul.
She's in love with Paul, but
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
that Paul will not commit to her because he loves Chani.
Right. He'll never be in love with her. I mean,
Yeah.
they might be able to deal with,
Yeah.
they
It's a
might be
very
able to deal with politics together, but that's as far as it's ever going to go.
yeah.
With him.
She's stuck in this big arranged marriage in a one-sided relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So the relationships in this story are just kind of bullshit.
It is. So it's kind of like it's outer space Shakespeare meets like the royal family from England.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And Irulan is the Diana to Chani's Camilla, I guess.
Yeah, that's a great comparison, I think.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And because if he had just married Chani, then she would be the Wallace Simpson, and he would have to he'd have to give up all of his political ties.
That's true. So hopefully Irulan stays away from the press.
I just hope she doesn't get an eating disorder from all of this.
Yeah. If you watched season 4 of The Crown, yeah.
Yeah. If you watched the tabloids in 1990, yeah.
Yeah, that too. I mean, but it's all over The Crown season 4. Her bulimia, yeah.
Very, very, very tragic. And if you have an eating disorder,
yes.
there is help. Please talk to someone.
They have like warning labels all over those episodes, like, this, we don't, we're taking this very seriously, like we're only doing it for dramatic presentation, and, like if you have, issues, you should call this number, et cetera, et cetera.
An eating disorder is something that you will fight with for the rest of your life, and you need help.
Right.
You need to take it.
It is very, very serious, obviously.
You can reach out to me if you need some help. I will help you get it. I'm very, very passionate anti-eating disorder person.
Yeah. So, but thankfully, you're still here with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still have some teeth enamel by the grace of God. So
yeah, you got all these arranged marriages going on, and people aren't in love with the people they want to be with, or
people can't be with the people they're in love with. Yeah,
right,
so
right.
It's it still has some. This is not exactly the most advanced civilization emotionally or anything like that. So
no, I mean it's obviously not. It's not.
There is a certain inherent misogyny, I think, to the concept of, dukes and concubines.
Right.
But
also keep in mind this novel was written in 1965.
Yeah, but we'll let it slide, being a product of its time.
Right.
But that's the thing. You don't let products of their time slide. You discuss it, and you discuss why it was okay at the time.
Right. You have to put it in its context.
Yeah, you have to put it in perspective, and you have to discuss, okay, why did this happen?
Yeah. And
that's why it happened. So.
You'd be kind of curious to how the story would be rewritten today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And maybe we'll see a little bit of that with Denis Villeneuve's adaptation.
Well, I almost hope he doesn't, because
you want it more faithful to the book?
Faithful to the book, and like I said, I feel like we need to have this kind of conversation, because if we sugarcoat what the past was like,
right,
then we can't learn from it. If we censor the past, we can't learn about why this is
right
a misogynistic situation. And I like that we do that. I like that we portray it as it was written, and we can have a discussion about it.
You don't have to sensationalize it.
Right. You don't have to, just because you portray something doesn't mean you condone something.
Right, exactly. You can do films about the Holocaust
And not condone,
the Holocaust. Exactly.
Right, exactly. But if you were to say something like, I don't think anybody should read Dune because the relationships are misogynistic,
right,
then I think you're doing yourself and everyone around you a disservice, because you can't learn about what that means, what that feels like, what that looks like, how it takes shape in a culture, how it takes shape in pop culture. So I think we should discuss it. And if it were written today, maybe it would be the Duke and Duchess Atreides.
That's true. That's true.
Lady. So who knows?
Yeah. Maybe she wouldn't be a royal concubine.
Or maybe if it was written today, they would talk about how she was his concubine because she is part of the sisterhood, and the sisterhood can't marry, blah blah blah, all that.
Right. Kind of yeah, they would give it a reason why they couldn't get married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That makes sense.
Something less political, I suppose.
All right. So, anything else that we didn't address?
No, just other than to say, if somebody's mean to animals, they're a horrible person, and stay the hell away from them.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah, especially to cats and cows.
It's, even if they're like little insects in little squeeze bottles.
If they drink those little insects in squeeze bottles, they're probably a terrible person.
Right. All right. So I know, right? Over there in Harkonnen Tower.
Yeah. The city of New York wants to take Harkonnen Tower.
Right.
They want to take the name Harkonnen off of the tower.
Well, the Deutsche Bank, or I should say the
Deutsche Bank is coming to collect.
Yeah, I say it's more. It's probably the Landsrad Bank. Is coming to collect on Harkonnen Tower.
Yeah, Harkonnen Tower is finally going to have
because apparently the Harkonnens have ran up this ridiculous amount of debt.
Like $316 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not Lannisters, so they're going to have some hard times.
We'll see.
Paying this one off.
We'll see. Maybe we need a new Dune movie now, besides Denis Villeneuve's version.
I don't know. Sometimes I feel like
maybe we're living in a Dune movie apparently.
But there's a part of me that feels like comparing the Trumps to the Harkonnens is an insult to the Harkonnens.
Yeah, exactly right. All right. Yeah, I think we're all kind of like laying it all out here for everybody. Pretty blatantly, but okay. So, what's your rating for this movie?
I give this one a 7 out of 10 royal pugs.
Okay. Yeah, I noticed he did have a pug.
I love that dog.
You love that dog.
Cute. He's on the Duke's lap when the Duke is in his robe, and he's just
sitting there like.
He's got his little tongue out. He's so cute. I love that freaking dog.
Well, I'm a little more generous. I love this movie. I know it has its flaws. I won't sugarcoat that. But I'm giving this one 8 out of 10 bottles of the water of life.
Ooh, gross.
Right?
Yeah. The water of life, did you notice that the water of life is probably just leftover elixir that they give the concubines in Flash Gordon?
Right.
It's the same looking stuff.
Was that before, Ming hypnotizes them to do their dance?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. I think so.
Probably.
They have to drink the water of life.
Dale has taken the water of life.
And that works as a reference on so many levels.
Right. Yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
It just depends on the
David
Dale,
Lynch
right?
Reference, it's a Twin Peaks reference. It's a Dino reference. It just goes all.
Thank
over
you.
the place.
I didn't. Yeah.
Good job.
Thank you. All right. Yeah. So 8 out of 10 bottles of water of life. All right. We don't have any Ghostwood mail, sadly. I know we've been off for a while.
We haven't been Ghostwood for a while. It's we had holidays and
we've been slacking a bit. Apparently, slackers.
Well, we've had. Do you want to be a slacker for the rest of your life, Charles?
Yeah. No.
Didn't that guy ever have hair?
That's hilarious. Slackers, son. Slackers.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Yeah, no,
if
we were. It was the holidays, and then it was, insurrection. So
right,
we've been busy.
yeah, we've got a lot on our social calendar apparently, a little bit.
We got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah. So, but if you want to reach out to us, we'd love to hear from you. If you got any thoughts, belated about Dune, we'd love to hear those.
Yeah.
Or, anything that you want us to cover on the podcast, we'd love to hear your suggestions, recommendations.
Yeah.
Or just let us know what you're doing if you're enjoying the podcast, or anything that's on your mind. Drop us a line at ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com. That's ghostwoodpodcast@gmail.com.
The Gmail.
The Gmail. Or you reach out to us on Twitter at ghostwoodcast on Twitter. Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks Podcast on the Facebook. And Xan, where can they reach you and hear more of your lovely work?
Oh, well, if you want to reach out and just chat, I'm on the Twitter and the Instagram is Udinax19, Xan Sprouse on the Facebook. And if you want to hear me talk some more about movies I love, I can be heard with you, Charles, on Drug Cinema.
Right.
Where next we will be discussing my favorite movie,
Yep.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, which is very topical after the announcement of the novel sequel that is supposed to be coming.
Did you see what I posted? Yeah, I posted that art about that. Yeah.
I don't think I saw you post it. I think I saw my friend Matt post it.
Well, I also posted it I posted it on our our Drunk Cinema page, and also shared it on my feed. Yeah, but yeah, we're finally getting the Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League.
It's been a long,
20
almost
plus
40 years.
Yeah, it's been a long, long time.
It's been 37 years that we've been waiting for that. So finally, Hannah and Shan will be here.
I appreciate they getting to that before I died.
Seriously.
I just have to stay alive long enough to read it, right?
Thank you, Earl. I appreciate you doing this.
Yeah.
And then also discussing Oscar winners or Oscar nominees, where sometimes you join us, Charles.
Yes.
And
I did recently this week.
You did recently on our Patreon special of Empire Strikes Back on Gold Standard, the Oscars podcast.
That's right.
So where can you be heard, Charles?
Well, as for me, of course, at Charles Skaggs on the Twitters, or at Charles Skaggs on the Instas, or Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, or my blog of Geeky Things.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. We're talking about all the stuff we talk about here on Ghostwood. So Twin Peaks, David Lynch stuff, Dune stuff, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news of my other podcasts for the Southgate Media Group, including the aforementioned Drunk Cinema. Or like Xan said, we're talking Buckaroo Banzai, so you got to check that out, right? And everybody, please, if you enjoy that, please share our links and help us build our little audience, because we're still a little tiny fledgling podcast over there. We definitely appreciate any support in that regard.
We're just a baby, but if you could give us the water of life and make us grow exponentially fast.
Exactly. That would be fantastic. Yes. Yeah. We need to take the water of life. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, like Xan said, on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that we've talked about, where Xan's on there occasionally, and will be again later this month as we discuss Resurrection of the Daleks. So stay tuned for that. I'm definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah, that'll be good time.
Finally getting to talk some Daleks with Xan on Next Stop. That's
because we're out of autons.
Right. Unless we do a commentary, that's an option. We could do a commentary. We could always do a commentary for Rose.
You guys already did Rose though, but I guess we could do a commentary.
We haven't done a commentary for Rose yet. We've only discussed the episode.
Okay.
We've only done two commentaries, and they were both Capaldi episodes.
Okay. You think Jesse would be down for that?
He may.
I don't know. We'll see.
I can make him be down with it. Going like we're going to do this or else.
Jesse will do my bidding.
He will do my bidding. Exactly.
Jesse goes where I tell him to go. All right, people.
You would know how this podcast is run. Come on.
We know who strong arms who around here.
Pretty much. I strung arm him this past week because he was kind of a little down about, the whole impeachment thing and then the Capitol thing. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, we got to talk because we need to be the light in the darkness.
That's a good point. Yeah,
because
I would agree with that.
we get a lot of our listeners, next up. I know I'm digressing here, but we got a lot of next stop everywhere listeners that just really appreciated us during the COVID times because we kind of helped them forget about things for like a couple hours. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty important.
I would agree with that.
If we can do that, and entertain people, make them laugh once in a while, we're doing our jobs right. So,
Oh yeah.
and I kind of feel that the same way here on this podcast. If we can entertain you and talk about Twin Peaks or Lynch or what have you, Dune, and
Even
you
if
guys
they
enjoy it.
Hey, you know what? I should watch Dune again. It's
Yeah.
on HBO Max. I should just watch it. Then we've done our job.
Yep. You know what also is on HBO Max now? Mulholland Drive.
This is the girl.
This is the girl. Yeah.
This is the girl.
A
Yeah.
pretty, the kind of movie that kind of inspired the theme song for Drunk Cinema. Just saying.
That kind of, yeah, exactly.
So might want to check that out, guys, if you haven't already. So also, the Phantom Zone podcast they do with Jesse, they're getting back on track, where Jesse, Nick, and I are about to talk WandaVision on Sunday.
I'll bet that's your next thing is the WandaVision.
Yeah, we are doing WandaVision, and that's going to be really interesting because this looks like to be a very quirky Marvel Cinematic Universe show.
It does look very interesting. Did you ever think you'd be this excited for something with an Olsen sister in it?
Never.
Never.
But to be fair,
here we are.
It's not Ashley or Mary Kate. We're talking Elizabeth.
It's not a twin. It's just an Olsen sister.
It's exactly. The solo sibling, the good one.
But hey, I've been a fan of hers since Godzilla, so she's fine by me.
Yeah, she was great in Godzilla. All right.
Yep.
So I've been a fan of hers. Well, hey, since Scarlet Witch, right?
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. So that's going to be a lot of fun and very interesting discussion. I'm very curious to see how this plays out.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I want to recommend everybody check that out. And then Titan Talk, the Titans podcast, but that's on a hiatus. So as we wait for HBO Max to give us season 3 of both Titans and Doom Patrol. But the episodes are still out there. We're kind of on automatic pilot right now.
There you go.
Because our downloads are just about as much as when we're doing new episodes. So
well, that's something.
Yeah, it is, considering. We got like over 500 likes on Facebook.
Heck yeah, you did.
Which is amazing. Like 550 now, I think. It's crazy.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
The global phenomenon that is Titan Talk, the Titans podcast. Right.
Hey, you got a wife out of that deal, so you've already won.
This is true. I did.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And a father-in-law with Jesse.
Oh, okay. I was going to say.
Because Jesse gave Lori away at our wedding.
That's right. He did.
And here we are all these years later talking Doctor Who.
All these years later. Yep.
And WandaVision. So next time on Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast, episode 91.
Hey, check it out.
Where by popular Xan demand, I guess that would be Dezand.
Yeah, by popular demand.
By popular demand, we're going to I just invented a word there.
Because Charles, did I ever tell you that this movie represents my individuality and my belief in personal freedom?
Right. So we are going to be talking Wild at Heart.
Lula! Yes.
So we can watch Nicolas Cage doing his Elvis impression throughout the entire movie.
This is one of the most Nicolas Cage movies ever.
Well,
it's so great.
So essentially it's Nicolas Cage doing Elvis in a movie that's littered with Wizard of Oz references.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
With Laura Dern thrown in and
Diane Ladd
and
Sherilyn
Fenn and just a bunch of other great actors in this. Willem Dafoe is in this movie. That's what I was trying to think of. So it's going to be a lot of fun to talk about this one. I've got this still saved on my DVR, so I'm definitely looking forward to watching this.
Unfortunately, we were not able to go to this one when Mike McGrainer did it for the director series.
Right.
So, because I was out of town, so we weren't able to go. So we haven't really talked about this one before. So.
No, we haven't. So that's great. It's great that we're doing this. Hopefully, it'll eventually get a Criterion version. I
want everything David Lynch did to be in a Criterion version. There's already 4 of his movies in Criterion.
Right.
There's not that many more.
Well, I mean, think about it. We still have Dune.
I'm not expecting a lot from Dune, but I really want to see Wild at Heart and Lost Highway in Criterion. Inland Empire. I want Inland Empire Criterion so bad I can't even begin to tell you.
So you can watch the ending since you slept through the ending of Inland Empire.
I slept through like 15 minutes of a 4-hour movie, Charles. It was 3 a.m. and I had been drinking and I slept like 15 minutes.
I had to tease you about that.
At least I wasn't the guy snoring that everybody was like kind of looking at and kind of chuckling. At least I didn't snore.
You were not snoring guy. I've stated
Yes.
this a couple of times here on the podcast. You were not the snoring guy. No, you were not that bad. You didn't
Yeah,
snore.
I was not the snoring
You
guy,
did
but
not snore.
I did nod off for about 15 minutes. Yes,
Yeah.
I will give you that.
So
I woke up in time for the creepy ass ending. I saw that. I saw Laura Dern's creepy face.
okay, all right. So all right, how about this? You missed a chunk of the third act.
I missed a chunk of the third act. Yes,
Okay.
I did.
All right. All right. Is that fair at least?
I am not going to lie or be embarrassed about the fact that I dozed off at 3:30 in the morning
No.
during a 3.5 hour long movie after a beer or two.
Mike McGrainer, if you don't want people falling asleep, maybe start the movies a little sooner.
It's not Mike's fault that
Yeah, it is.
I don't drink caffeine.
No, because he should realize that his audience is a little older and maybe needs that little starting a little sooner for the movie.
No, it's not. It's not Mike's fault at all. It's a perfect midnight movie for somebody who can stay awake for 15 minutes.
Yeah. But it's such a long movie, though. I would have started that one at
It's
11.
a long movie, and like,
Should have started at 11.
What did we get home at like 4 or something?
Something like that. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was late when we got home.
It was. All
You
right.
spent 20 minutes to drive after my house.
I was just saying, I dropped you off and then headed home, and I had to tack on another 20 minutes getting home.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's really no good freeway way to get back to. It's like you still have to drive like a bunch of miles to get to the freeway.
I had to go 71, or 315 south to 670 west, 670 west. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, to 70 west. Yeah. That's what
Exactly.
I got to do. Schlep all the way back to Hilliard. So anyway,
all the way back over
but you guys at home don't care about that. So like I said, we're talking episode 91. We're going to talk Wild at Heart. And as you can see, it's probably going to be a really interesting discussion. So hope everybody comes back. Xan, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off?
Insurrection is treason.
Right. That's a good one. Yeah. That's always a
I
good
already
one.
talked about my individuality and my belief in personal freedom. I'm done.
You're done. Yeah. You don't have to speak anymore. All right.
Nope,
So,
I'm good.
All right. So everybody, thanks again for listening. We really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed our Dune discussion. Come on back. Episode 91, Wild at Heart, right here. Ghost with the Twin Peaks podcast. Goodbye, everybody.